A while ago I made a video about the reasons why it doesn't make a lot of sense for William Afton to have survived the Springlock failure in any way. While there are ways for someone to survive that incident, everything shown surrounding his body and the Silver Eyes trilogy make it unlikely that he could have survived, or at least I thought so. That video actually ended up being one of my more successful theories, and while I stand by most of that evidence, information from one of the upcoming Tales from the Pizzaplex stories has actually made me rethink the theory. Looking back now, I actually realized that there is a way that William could have survived the failure, and in this video I'm going to be explaining how he could have survived and all the information surrounding his survival and what exactly gave effect. Back in that video about why Afton is dead, I talked about how in the Silver Eyes trilogy, William Afton is alive in Springtrap, but that his body didn't rot while he was in there. William's body in the games does rot, so that means that he has to have been dead. But what I didn't really consider much was that it could have just been that William survived in both continuities, but in a different way. William in the Silver Eyes trilogy was alive inside Springtrap because of Remnant. This is shown in the fourth closet, that he keeps himself alive with the MCI Remnant. The MCI means Missing Children Incident, by the way, if you didn't know. The MCI Remnant, the Missing Children Incident kids, their Remnant is in the Fun Times. I'll get to that a little bit later. But weirdly, it also seems like he's alive by Remnant even before that, despite the fact that he doesn't really get, he doesn't get the MCI Remnant at that point, and it's kind of weird because we don't know what Remnant he could have had at that point, but it still seems like he had Remnant. William is said to have already survived a Springlock failure before, and he even says that his vocal cords were severed. Think about what I just told you. He says that his vocal cords are severed. Yet he's somehow speaking? That, coupled with the fact that William's eyes are said to be dead, and he basically says that he has died before, means that he had to have had Remnant that brought him back to life, and also healed his organs. William in the books has Remnant, and that's why he's alive, but William's body being rotted in the games means that he can't have survived with Remnant, because Remnant actually heals you. Also, if William did survive by Remnant, then the fact that he survived the FNaF 3 fire confirms that Remnant doesn't burn in fire, which is true regardless, but because of that, if William used Remnant to survive, then he should still be alive by the time of Security Breach, and given what he looks like in the game and how his soul is split up between multiple bodies, that's not possible. So, William could be alive, but not because of Remnant. But there is another way William could have potentially survived. I've talked many times about how I don't believe Stitchline games, and with me not believing it comes the idea that there could be some parallels within the books. But one thing that is absolutely true regardless of Stitchline games is that certain concepts and ideas can be brought over to the games. Concepts such as spirits being able to willingly keep someone alive. In the Man in Room 1280, we see William Afton as a literal burned corpse who looks vaguely human. He still had the shape of a human being, but like everything else about him looked barely like a human at all. His body is burnt to a crisp with literal breaks in between parts of his body, including a cut through which you could look in and still see his beating heart. Through all of this, William is still alive, and has been this way for years, but not naturally. Despite the nurse's many attempts to kill this monster they believe to be pure evil, there is also a shadow boy with curly black hair and an alligator mask protecting the man. For years, this shadow boy, Andrew, has been keeping William alive all this time and torturing him with horrific nightmares in his head. Andrew either is or represents the vengeful spirit from Ultimate Custom Night, wanting to torture William in retaliation for killing him. Since I don't believe Stitchline games, I believe that Cassidy is the one that you should not have killed, and I don't believe Andrew's in the games either, so it still can't have been him. At least in my opinion, it is possible, I just don't believe it. But just because it's a different person doesn't mean something similar can't have happened. What if Cassidy actually attached herself to William, keeping him alive in a similar manner? Honestly, it would be the perfect torture for a man like William Afton. William murdered these kids by using this Springlock suit, so him being crushed inside would be really fitting. But if William is kept alive even in death, then he won't have the relief of dying and the pain ending. If he's kept alive, then the pain will never truly stop. It's a fitting demise for a man like William Afton. So it does make sense if Cassidy is the one who got William Springlocked and then kept him alive even through it. When it comes to his physical body, he's pretty much a zombie where his brain can still control it but still rots like a dead body. Cassidy is keeping him alive even through death, but if this is to be true, what else would this affect? See, if Cassidy is keeping William alive, then her spirit can't have been in the remnant that is in the Fun Times, as her spirit is occupied. So there has to be a different spirit, also from Golden Freddy, that would take her place, which itself would imply Golden Duo. So therefore, it has to be the bite victim in the remnant. For context, the remnant in the Fun Times is the endoskeletons of all the original 5 animatronics that were melted together and infused into the Fun Times. This is all confirmed by Henry, Candy Cadet, and the 4th Closet. It's not a theory, but a fact. It's also a fact that William created the remnant for the Fun Times after destroying the animatronics and collecting their endoskeletons in the Follow Me minigames from FNaF 3. Henry's monologue in the Insanity ending confirms this, as he's talking about the remnant and then describes the Follow Me minigame, saying that William brought all the kids together, and that as a result of that, he doesn't know if they're still aware.
He lured them all back to a familiar place, back with familiar tricks. He brought them all together. Are they still aware? I hope not. It keeps me awake at night. I could make myself sleep, but not yet. Not until I undo what he has done and heal this wound. A wound first inflicted on me, but then one that I let bleed out to cause all of this. He set some kind of trap. I don't know what it was, but he led them there again. He overpowered them again, and he robbed them of the only thing that they had again.
This is talking about the spirit's location in the remnant, which is interesting because William makes the remnant shortly before getting springlocked. Before, meaning that Cassidy, if she were to be in the remnant, wouldn't be able to hold William alive. But if Cassidy isn't in the Fun Times, how exactly would this work? Say the bite victim is actually the one in the Fun Times. Not only would it explain the problem of how Cassidy could have been in William, it would also solve the problem of the bite victim being in Michael. What if, instead of both spirits possessing the same endoskeleton, one spirit possessed the endoskeleton and the other spirit possessed the shell? Some of you may say that Golden Freddy doesn't have an endoskeleton, but Golden Freddy is factually in the remnant for the Fun Times, and the remnant in the Fun Times is the endoskeletons melted together, meaning Golden Freddy has to have an endoskeleton, it just like can't stand up for another reason. Maybe the bite victim is possessing the endoskeleton and Cassidy the shell, and therefore Cassidy wouldn't have been in the remnant, but the bite victim would instead. The FNaF 4 player is Michael Afton. Michael draws Nightmare Fredbear in the logbook, and the FNaF 1 phone call appears in FNaF 4. Scott himself has confirmed that the Easter eggs in FNaF 4 aren't random, which means that the player of FNaF 4 and the player of FNaF 1 are the same person, meaning he has to be Michael. Many of the Fazbear Fright stories also have a bully character, an older brother character, or both as the main character who experiences nightmares. However, in some of the cases, most notably Step Closer and Blackbird, it is an outside entity inflicting the nightmares. Because of this, it seems like we can apply this to the games. So, if we take another look at the logbook and sister location, it seems like the bite victim did in fact have the nightmares too. In the logbook, the bite victim is asked, "Do you have dreams?" on a page talking about recent dreams. On the sister location breaker room map, there's markers for all the areas the nightmare animatronics are in FNaF 4, implying that the nightmares existed and they were inflicted on the bite victim by William physically, and then he dreamt them again after the bite, and then inflicted the nightmares on Michael as revenge. The bite victim had the same nightmares as Michael, and also before Michael did, implying that it's the bite victim actually giving Michael these nightmares. The bite victim's spirit at this point is attached to Michael, like how Andrew was attached to William. None of the spirits can be set free until they have closure. The missing children and the Save Them victims can't be free until William is defeated for good. Cassidy or Andrew can't be set free until they get revenge on William. Charlotte can't be set free without the missing children, and most importantly, the bite victim can't be set free without his friends and without getting revenge on Michael. The FNaF 4 night gameplay is his retaliation. That all seems to be pretty clear. But I've never really been able to think of a way that the bite victim could have latched onto Michael. Or, well, I have, but not under William being dead inside Springtrap. But if Cassidy is attached to William, another Golden Freddy spirit still has to be in the remnant. What if it's actually the bite victim in there? It would explain how the bite victim latched onto Michael. Remember, Michael was injected with remnant at the end of Sister Location. The survival logbook has to have been given to Michael in 2023 and not 1993 because we see the FNaF 3 office in the logbook. It also can't be that the office in the logbook is just the one that FNaF 3 was based on, since none of the 3 Freddy Fazbear's Pizza locations have an office looking like that or any area in the building that would match the layout of that office. In the logbook, Mike draws Nightmare Fredbear in a section under recent dreams, meaning the nightmares took place in 2023 as well, likely just before FNaF 3. That's way after sister location, so it's entirely possible that the bite victim latched onto Mike when Mike was injected with Remnant after sister location. Mike may have moved on, maybe started a family. By the time Fazbear Frights rolls on though, Mike wants nothing to do with it. This is why the bite victim chooses now to torture Mike. He's lost his way. It seems like after all this time he just doesn't care anymore, and the bite victim through the FNaF 4 torture reminds him that most of what's happened thus far has been his fault, and it is his duty to fix it. So, that's my theory. The bite victim needs a way to latch onto Michael, and if he is in the Remnant, then Michael getting injected with Remnant from the Scooper would be the perfect way for him to latch on. With the bite victim in the Remnant, Cassidy's keeping William alive even through death, forcing him to sit through every last drop of pain the Springlock failure inflicts, and torturing him for what he did all those years ago. But that's another question. What did William really do? I mean, obviously he killed Cassidy, but what makes her so special in comparison to all the others? What separates Cassidy's vengefulness from Susie's, or Gabriel's, or Fritz's, or Jeremy's? Why is Cassidy the one spirit who will not rest without vengeance? What did William do to her specifically? Well, that's gonna have to wait for next time. Yeah, this is only part 1 of a 2-parter on the Vengeful Spirit, and in the next video we'll be focusing solely on the events of Ultimate Custom Night, the identity of the Vengeful Spirit, presenting 2 different explanations for the he-him pronouns, and discussing why the Vengeful Spirit really is so vengeful. I'll also talk about the identity of Old Man Consequences and how all this is affected by Princess Quest, and what else all of this could mean. But that's everything I wanted to talk about for this video. Leave a like and subscribe if you want to, and stay tuned for the next theory. While it certainly is possible that William Afton is dead inside Springtrap, I'm starting to think more evidence is pointing to him being alive. But to find out why, I guess we'll have to wait for Tales from the Pizza Bikes Book 3. I've heard a couple spoilers about the second story Pressure, and it honestly gets me kind of upset that I have to wait more than a month more. Interestingly, following the leaks of the book from a month ago, the book was actually delayed by an entire month, which is mildly frustrating, but that delay happened weeks ago, yet the 4th book hasn't yet been delayed. Currently, Submechanophobia is set to release exactly 3 weeks after Somnophobia, which is kinda weird. I don't have a problem with that. If that does happen, it would be awesome, since by the time I actually finish all my videos on book 3, I'd probably immediately have the 4th book ready for the next set of videos. But I kinda doubt it will stay that way, and expect Submechanophobia to be delayed soon enough. Do you guys think it will? Probably, but I really hope not.